All right. Welcome back to Bolu Talks Football. Liverpool carried the narrow behind all the way to France to play PSG and just lost 2-0. I think we can all agree that game could have been more. That game could have been so much more. I think Liverpool went in the formation and Slot tried to change a few things. He tried to go with a 5-2-3, which I didn't think made sense. And then the three forwards you chose, Soboslai, Ekitike, and Verts. I'm sorry. No, I'm like that was a negative. That was so negative, and it's their fault. Honestly, it's Liverpool's. It's the board's fault for what he just did. Because I'm sorry. Yesterday we just saw Luis Diaz and Bayern Munich go to Madrid and torch them, but you decided to get rid of him because you wanted to pay. Wanted the one at 20 million to play for Florian Wirtz. This is the game where that money comes to play. This is the games they paid for that money. No shot. He tried a few things short. He tried to dribble. He tried. But majorly was awful. He didn't have the work rate to keep up with the PSG press. And the sad part is the person he was supposed to replace had the work rate. But unfortunately, both of them have to play together because they can't press without it. So unfortunately, Liverpool did this to themselves. Actually did this to themselves. And Ekitike today, Jesus Christ, that was awful. Oh my God. That performance was rubbish. Absolute no. Wow. He went from Ekitike to Liam Delap. That's what he looked like. That was awful. Balls were bouncing. Everything wasn't sticking. Pass he couldn't pass. He couldn't hold up the ball. No. William Pacho, by the way, is actually low-key one of the best centre-backs in the world. Low-key, I know he doesn't get his praise because he plays for PSG, but he's low-key one of the best. I'm sorry, today he had him in his pocket. He says, come here. Ekitike is in the shower right now, watching that stink up. William Pacho is still there. So he's looking behind his back because he thinks Pacho is still there. You know, he had him in his pocket. The midfield, I always said, Gravenberch and McAllister as a midfield don't make sense, especially in a game like this because none of them are combative. So you basically have to try and protect them, which is what Slot did last year. But this year, it said, let's expose them. Let's expose the fact that McAllister and Gravenberch can't get around. And Gravenberch, his main skill is ball carrying. But against PSG, you can't carry the ball all the time. You need to be able to pass the ball on somebody and receive it and pick the moments in which you do carry the ball. But no, because that's his primary escape mode in the Premier League anyways, is to, I'm in trouble, people are pressing me, I'm going to carry the ball. Against PSG, carry the ball into danger so many times. McAllister looked overrun. And then the back five with Konate, Gomez, Van Dijk, Kirkes. What? No. I'm sorry, no. It made sense from a defensive standpoint, but from an offensive, there was no offensive point. There was no point to the offense. Eventually, PSG were going to carve you open, and PSG could have had 4. Dembele had chances, and Konate, the Konate penalty claims, I don't know which of them is a penalty. They said one is not, the other one they pushed him. My opinion, at least one of them should have been penalty. Because you can't put your hand, if you can't two-hand push somebody, you cannot one-hand push them and the back while they're taking a shot. That should have been a penalty at least. The first one, fine. He eventually gets the ball. But the second one, no. And now Salah, the camera was panning towards Salah all the time, just looking at the bench, looking miserable, like, this is, I guess I'm not coming on today. No, I think Liverpool, they did this to themselves. They changed their identity of what they've been built on. They've been built on hard work, finding those $60, $80 million players that are hardworking, that work for, that basically they will die on the line. They had money now, they have been run well financially, they've been good. Now all of a sudden they decided, oh, let's get fancy. As they'll say, let's get jiggy. We have money now. Sometimes when you've been broke for a long time, you finally get money. All of a sudden, you see so many things you can now afford. You start spending lavish. But no, they should have kept Diaz. They could have gotten Ekitike or Isak, one of them, not both, and spent that on an actual defensive midfielder that they were supposed to get when they were interested in Caicedo and Lavia. That's almost 3 years ago. Still haven't got one. Tried Endo for a while, and wrong answer to the question. But now it's coming. Now they need a defensive midfielder. And so far, this I know the transfer window hasn't started, but so far they haven't been linked with one yet. They've been linked with Adam Morton and Elliott. Those are not defensive midfielders. That's not the answer to your question, because they're just replacing one McAllister and Garrett for a younger version. You still need one out-and-out defensive mid to pair along with either Gravenberch or McAllister. And Van Dijk needs to go. And as much as if they do switch to this back five, I know it will protect Van Dijk and make him, because then the same thing can happen at Chelsea with Thiago Silva. When we switch to a back five, it can protect your aging defender and make them look better. But offensively, they clearly look like they've not done this in a while. Because even at times when they do the press correctly, it takes a second for you to click to the wing back up to Frimpong on the side. Oh, your man is Mendes. Go up and press. And then PSG bypass and they look at Frimpong and it's all the way back there. They're 2-on-1 on Carrasco, which is fair. You should be 2 against, which is fair. But if you are pressing, actually supposed to press the back 3, your wing back is supposed to join the press, whichever side the ball is on. So I think with Slot, he got it wrong. But at the same time, I think the reason why they haven't fired him is because clearly he's not the man for the job. But at the same time, I think they are holding themselves accountable for the action. Because, okay, he can point to the fact that no new defenders. He can point to the fact that they needed a midfielder. Point to the fact that Cody Gakpo was their only left winger, and Rio Ngomor is 16-year-old. How is he supposed to challenge for the title or win things with that? You can argue the fact that Salah, although very, very good last season, he's 34. A 34-year-old winger, not in the Premier League. Maybe in Saudi, but not in the Premier League. Not in the Champions League. Can't help you. So some of it is his fault, but some of it is also you have money, but you spent it on the wrong thing. You did do it the Liverpool way. The old Liverpool would have kept Szoboszlai and Diaz, and the old Liverpool would have found a way to win this game with their intensity. Because this is the kind of games they like, where they can match intensity, but right now they can't. Because some of the players can provide intensity, but can't provide end product. Today, so some of them can. They tried, they huffed and puffed. I think they probably had 1 or 2 good chances, but all in all, it was an easy game. And then now you're in PSG's hands. Now you're in PSG, because at Anfield you're going to have to come out and play, and that is what they want you to do. You're not going to play back 5 at Anfield. You're going to go with a back 4. Salah is probably going to come out. And I don't expect this to end well. I remember when it was Chelsea's turn, they made fun of how easy we got. I expect the same way, because they're going to have to come out and play. And that is where they like it. That is where the Bailey is going to have you guys one-on-one. That is where Carrasco is going to have your right back or left back, wherever it is, one-on-one. And then they're going to do their thing. So I think all in all, I think it's going to be sucky next. The next leg is going to be sucky. So make sure you guys comment, like, and subscribe. Again, subscribe. I'll catch you in the next one.